Big story, the big McLaren choke. McLaren, are they going to be writing a book on how to lose a championship? This was Lando Norris pretty much saying, I just want to go to bed. I completely understand. That's after the Qatar Grand Prix. Absolute disastrous. He's got to lay some of the blame, though, for mess up in qualifying. Him and McLaren not quite making it, because I think he definitely had the faster, potentially had the faster package than Piastri. Because in the first one, he was faster. We will never know. But he stopped the chance. The start wasn't particularly great. Yes, Verstappen started slightly on the clean side, but it wasn't great. And then Verstappen went through, and then his pace just wasn't. It's hard. And Verstappen now is just 12 points behind Lando Norris. Remember, he's ahead of Oscar Piastri now. 408, 396, 392. That is how the driver standing reads. This is what they said to Zak Brown. So basically, McLaren, the reason why they did so bad is on lap 7. There was a safety car. Lap 7 was the magic number where you could pit and then you had 50 laps left, ergo 2 25 lap slots. Because if you remember, at the Qatar Grand Prix, the tyre, you could only do 25 laps on a set of tyres. So that's why lap 7 was key. Everyone pitted but McLaren. It was obvious that this is unless you have a massive offset, and even Lando Norris at the end, as we see, couldn't really get by Kimi Antonelli decently. It was very difficult to pass. So once again, clean air is king, track position is king. Someone didn't mention that to McLaren, and this is what Zak Brown had to say.
You saw Max coming in. Did it cross your mind or the strategies to call Lando with him and split the cars?
No, we didn't want to kind of change what we decided to do coming into the race. I think it's always dangerous to maybe kind of second guess yourself of what you've thought about coming in, but we'll have to evaluate it. It clearly didn't work out our way, and need to just go give Oscar and Lando big hugs, because they did their job this week.
You saw Max
coming. And that's what's interesting. He said they did their job this week, and I think both the drivers did. In particular, Oscar Piastri. That's Montoya asking the questions. Sorry. They did their job, but McLaren didn't on the strategy. Now, you have to wonder, the theories behind it. Is it because McLaren want to be so even with the drivers? They did not want to let either Oscar or Lando pit, because ultimately Lando would have had to wait behind Oscar. Didn't have enough time to double stack smoothly. He would have had to wait with the train of F1 cars and stopped him from coming out. Because obviously, you can't. Maybe he just would have made it. It was risky. Maybe it favoured Oscar too much. And then you have to wonder, if I was Lando, I'd have just booted it in there anyway and gone against team orders. I've got a championship to win. But then, everyone would have gone, oh, that's so bad. But still, whatever way you cook it, it was the obvious thing to do. And McLaren didn't do it. They think different works sometimes. Not all the time. This was Lando Norris' take on it.
Could have been a 6-point gain. Could have been a 7-point gain that Oscar got today. It's only 6. I'm trying to find you a positive. But tell me what was going on in the car and the communications when everyone pitted under the safety car. Were you wanting to come in?
He should have done. Let's be fair. As I've said, he should have come in. Let's see what he says.
It's tough. We just had to have faith in the team making the right decision. Always a gamble. I feel like we're the ones who took the gamble in a way, but.
He's being really nice, isn't he? He's basically saying, we're the ones that took the gamble, have faith in the team. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, now it's the wrong decision. We shouldn't have done it. Oscar lost the win and I lost P2. So, we didn't do a good job today, but we've done plenty of good jobs in other races, and we won the Constructors 6 races ago because of that. So, no, not our finest day, but that's life.
Could have been a 6.
Not that fine. I mean, he's not Lewis Hamilton downbeat, is he? But still, yeah, it is really, really disappointing. I mean, even Oscar Piastri, they said, check the flag, Oscar, your pace was incredible. But he then said, speechless, I don't have any words. Now, he is now 3rd in the championship. You can make an argument least likely to win that championship. Indeed. Which is kind of depressing, isn't it? If you're an Oscar fan, because I think, it's difficult. No one ever deserves to do it in Formula 1 because it's a sport, but in terms of pace, I don't think did anything wrong. He definitely deserved the win. He was definitely, the best driver of the weekend. So speechless Oscar, he fumes at McLaren tactical mistake in Qatar. Speechless was he on the radio. And as he said, it even says here, it was a perfect weekend. After that clash between Pierre Gasly and Nico Hülkenberg on lap 7, McLaren were the only team decided not to go in the safety car. Now, at the end of a weekend that saw Oscar move to third, speechless. I don't have any word. Piastri said it was pretty obvious in hindsight that McLaren should have pitted when everyone else did. Clearly, we didn't get it right tonight. Piastri, who now trails Lando Norris by 16 points. It was, 24, wasn't it, coming in? He said, I drove the best race I could as fast as I could, and there was nothing left out there, so tried my best, but wasn't to be tonight. I think in hindsight, it's pretty obvious what we should have done, but I'm sure we'll discuss it as a team. It's not all bad, obviously. It's been a really good weekend. The pace was very strong, but obviously a little tough to swallow at the moment. It absolutely is, Oscar. I feel for you. This is him in the interview.
Max is now in that P2 position.
Oh, it's got to burn! Max is now in that P2. Look, he's biting. He's biting his lip. What's he going to say?
There's a lot of work to do in Abu Dhabi. How do you reset? How do you pick yourself up and go into that weekend? And can you just ask the team, can we just throw it all out there, please? Can we just do this and not worry about each other and just go for it? We've got a third person in this now. Wow,
this interview's talking a lot.
Just drive like I did this weekend. That's all I can do. It was more than good enough to dominate this weekend, and if I can do the same thing next weekend, then I'll be a happy man.
And absolutely the right mindset. I've got to go in to win the race. I've got to win the race, and then we'll see. That's all he has to do. And also, if he wins the race, that's probably going to help Lando Norris if he's second or if he's third, for example, if Verstappen's between them. What's interesting, though, is if we have a scenario the same as Qatar, where if Lando finishes fourth and Max wins, Max is the champion. But if Oscar Piastri then goes back 2 positions, gives up his P2 and his podium for Lando, then Lando's the champion. If we see a scenario like that, I mean, McLaren have kind of already come out and said, no. There will be no scenario like that. No team orders, but it'll be interesting, when it counts. So, and they're talking about, and even motorsport.com have come out and said, has McLaren just scored an own goal into the Qatar Grand Prix? Our writers have their say. Yeah, and McLaren's called not to pit Oscar Lando during the safety car period. Gave Verstappen, basically, in hindsight now, looking back, it is a lot easier. Hindsight is 2020. But even at the time, it was obvious that was the wrong decision, I feel. He's cut the deficit to 12 points, pretty much half as what he came in. And the outcome appeared to hinge on McLaren's decision not to pit either of its drivers. So as McLaren made another error. And they're also saying there are some parallels between McLaren's strategy disaster here and its double DQ in Las Vegas. Yes, there were mitigating factors, but all the other cars that were checked were legal. Yes, a safety, yeah, I guess so. They're the one people that weren't. Safety car always makes the decision tougher, but pretty much everyone else seems to have made the right call. Given Qatar's unusual but well-known strategy outlook, dictated by the mandatory 2-stop, I would be shocked if McLaren hadn't accounted for the exact safety car scenario. And, I mean, there is no right for Verstappen to be let into this title fight, yet here he is. And I think that says a lot, both for Verstappen, how good he is, and how bad McLaren have been at the moment. Yet here he is. Yet here Max is in that title fight. And he would be a well-deserved champion given how he has driven. He absolutely would. I'm not saying Norris or Piastri deserve to lose it, but McLaren is letting its drivers down too much. McLaren's letting its drivers down. I don't think the drivers over the course of the season haven't possibly so much. They've had their moments. Lando in Canada, Piastri in the Brazil sprint race, and basically the whole Baku weekend. McLaren's Las Vegas did double DQ for excessive plant wear. Led the team apologising to both drivers, and they're going to have to apologise today for their decision not to pit. Now, they're talking about why didn't McLaren pit, and they said this over the radio. We need to be flexible. Well, you weren't really, were you? Flexibility was one reason given during the race, but the small silver lining taken from losing track position and giving Verstappen free air, which he used to pound to victory at a circuit where both these elements were key and just made no sense. They're saying, I completely concur. The drivers have made their share of mistakes this season, which we're talking about, but when the pressure cranked up across the triple header finale, it is the team that's letting the drivers down. McLaren messed up big time with their call in Qatar, not bringing either driver in when the entire rest of the field. It reminded me very similar to Hungary 2021, when everyone pitted from inters to dry tyres except Lewis Hamilton. We had that really bizarre the really bizarre image of Lewis Hamilton on his own as the 5 lights go out. It was just so strange. And they're talking about, with all the data at its disposal and the knowledge of how its drivers, how close its drivers were with title rival Verstappen, leaving both drivers out in the car was a big mistake. acting in the way almost every other team would by giving the lead driver the first call, would have almost certainly secured a 204th race win for the team. And when the focus of Formula One is chasing every win, yeah, absolutely. Verstappen's title now looks more real. Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, these are the writers having to say, are papaya rules causing the team to panic? I previously argued that McLaren shouldn't favour Norris over Piastri in the title race in order to keep things fair between two drivers who have a realistic chance of becoming champion, but this was just unnecessary. Either McLaren was unprepared for this scenario, which would be more surprising from the team, or they panicked as they realised the implications in terms of papaya. We need to ban that term, don't we, for next year? But in that case, the only reasonable call was to double stack them. It was, even if Norris took a minor loss, because the final result today could have been far, far worse than second and fourth. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a very happy Max Verstappen saying, "Thank you very much, McLaren, for my early Christmas present." Now, here's the scary thing here. I'm going to leave you guys with this deficit to the World Drivers' Championship. Going into the season finale with today's points format, Kimi Raikkonen in 2007 would be 12 points behind with today's points format. Max Verstappen in 2025 will also be 12 points behind. You couldn't write this script if you tried, and if you want to know, in 2007 it was Kimi Raikkonen was the world champion, coming back from what would have been the equivalent of 12 points down using the current point system. Oh dear. Oh dear indeed.